Hello.
Hello. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Good. It's dark here.
Yeah.
Like trying to like light everything up, but it's not
We
working
had
very well.
these things. I don't even know. I don't have one in my office.
Better.
But they're little like clip lamps that you can supposedly use for your phone, but we never really did. So,
I have like this, like a
oh
little
yeah.
like ring light thing, but it's still like it doesn't help the rest of it.
Got it.
I think this is the first time we've done a webinar where it's like dark outside.
Huh. Crazy.
So
Is that the seasons changing or do you guys change the times?
our time changes, I think, this weekend, but it's just this time of year. It gets darker earlier. So
Got it.
yeah. Also, I think a congratulations is in order for your MBA. That's
Oh,
awesome.
yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
I did that. I was there.
Yeah. Awesome. I've like tossed around the idea of like continuing education in general and figuring out like which route to go. At one point I was speaking, like John and I were talking about it a while ago, and he had mentioned that he's like, I want you to do the like assisting route because he wanted me to
Mm,
like the TMJ assisting through like the ACP. Um, but like now that I'm doing more management, I think that like some type of like master's in management would be like awesome. So
yeah, I can't recommend the Western Governors University program enough. It's online.
oh, that's awesome.
They let you work at your own pace. It's super, super wonderful, dual accredited, and really affordable, frankly. So, um,
Awesome. I
yeah,
might pick your brain more about that at some point.
yeah, shoot me a text. I'm a big
Yeah.
fan. They allow you to do it. It's designed. I mean, they know when you're pursuing a master's, you're usually doing a job, so they,
Mm-hmm.
they're, I mean, I thought it was very doable, on a part-time school basis.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah.
That's really cool. And I didn't realize that you're a cowboy. How did I not know this about you? You're a horse person.
You haven't been to my courses. Yeah,
No.
I'm a big horse guy. I mean, not much anymore. I don't have a horse. It's problematic
Oh,
when you're a horse guy.
right.
I used to volunteer with children of the incarcerated. Children of the incarcerated. I mumble that phrase a lot, and people get really confused. Um, so yeah, so I'll share a tiny bit about that, but that was
Yeah.
me volunteering at the ranch that we did
Okay.
that at, and I
Okay.
was supposed to be marketing. I ended up doing a lot of running over the horse program because I was very
Yeah.
comfortable with horses and I knew how to
Yeah.
work with them. So
That's
yeah,
awesome. I know I've only known about the dogs and they didn't even make the cut.
they didn't. Yeah, I did get another dog actually.
You did?
So
Is that
I have
three?
two now. Oh no,
Oh,
no, I
two.
didn't know if you
Oh,
knew
for
about the
some reason I
second.
thought.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
I I always have a hard time with that slide. It's kind of crucial in our courses because we teach on the why in our courses usually.
Mm-hmm.
But in this content, I just really wanted to focus on the audience. So I wanted them to, I didn't, you're going to introduce me as the formal, the
Yeah. I'll
guy,
do your
I
formal.
was
Yeah.
like, I need something to break it up.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
tried, I
No,
role
it's
played
perfect.
that piece and just didn't feel right in this presentation. So
Yeah. Yeah. No, it'll be good. It'll be good. I think I'm gonna Frank wanted to talk a little bit about true function just in general, like a big picture. So I'll pass it on to him and then I'll come back and introduce you. So
cool.
it'll be kind of a
I
back and
can't
forth at the beginning.
share my screen right now. So I tried to
Oh,
test that out.
sorry, that was my fault.
You're good.
I also we've been talking about, before anyone jumps on here, about okay, you should be good now. The course. Remember we talked a little bit about the course, like the potentials of us doing like a true function Friday course.
Hmm.
Um, and I think you said like we have to get like 4,000 in registrations in for it to be like good to
Yeah.
go.
Um,
Um,
Go ahead. Sorry.
I would say we're just I think we are leaning towards that for our, like I'm working on our sales and marketing plan for next year,
Okay.
and I think we are leaning towards that.
Okay.
Um, I'll get together with you on more like details on that, but just a heads up, I think that's
Sweet.
I think that might be the route that we want to go, to just kind of
Wonderful.
funnel some of those, like, as you call low hanging fruit, the onesie twosies. I'm curious on, like, I know we're going to do this webinar, and then I was talking to Dr. Patel about doing another kind of like implementation webinar. So just like picking everyone's brain on what they think of these, you know what I mean? Like the feedback we get from these two, and then, from there, but before we decide we're going to jump into a full day course offering kind of
Yeah.
thing, I just kind of want to pick everyone's brain on that and yours. So I'll keep you updated.
And that's a rough number, to be clear. Like we can do, depending on what you guys want to do, like on the details, we can potentially come down on that. It just depends on like
Okay.
there's two factors we need to look at, and that's the number of people and then our cost to put it on. So as long as, like, if there's a lot of people attending, then we potentially lower our cost. So we just got to kind of figure out something there. That number was just kind of I know what our cost is to do that, so I know what we need to charge. So roughly right in there.
Okay.
And like I said, you guys can charge that to the clients. So
yeah, and that's what we would pass the fee on, but we we would bring our own clinical person, and we would bring we would bring our own Frank as well.
Cool.
I was like, what am I trying to say here? Yeah. So that will probably help you with some of your costs as well.
Yep.
But yeah, so we'll brainstorm, we'll get our head around that. But I just wanted to let you know that I'm kind of putting that as a potential for our marketing plan of next year, maybe.
Cool. And we can do a couple
April,
webinars next year
May.
too.
Yeah.
Lovely. Yeah. Okay. I did have a question. Is there a setting on your end to allow me to share audio? Because I've got 2 videos I'd like to share. And it's not letting me click that button. So that might be a me and Zoom thing, but I've never had the issue before. Google it real quick too.
Yeah, I'm looking here. Audio, telephone or computer audio. And we were at almost, I think we were at almost about 65 registrations. So.
Cool.
I don't see it in like the webinar setting. Maybe it's in the main webinar itself.
You know what? I did go through this a little bit. How do we fix this? On share screen, on your share screen settings as a host, I think there's a button that says allow people to share screen at the same time. Can you turn that off and make it one person at a time?
Okay, I just did that.
Perfect. I did it. Sweet. Okay. I can't believe I remembered that.
Thanks.
Yeah, we did a webinar a couple weeks ago, so we had the same issue. I was like, what the heck? Let's see if this works.
It's just there's all this pressure, you know.
Can you hear that?
And sometimes it feels like it.
Cool. We are.
No, because you'd be surprised how many individuals have issues with that.
I mean,
can't get the audio to share.
This is the first time we've run into it. Yeah. Okay. Well, usually it's because they forget to click the button in the bottom left-hand corner. That's the number one issue we run into. So we always say, hey, you have any audio videos with audio? You do. Cool. Can you make sure you click the button? They're like, what button? I'm like, yeah, that's why yeah. And you guys pay for the webinar suite with there's my favorite feature is the practice session. So you can actually have a session that doesn't allow any of the attendees in until you hit start webinar, and that way you can talk and prep, and then at 5 you open it up. So yeah,
I'll talk. Tara usually sets these up. I'll chat with her on that, because usually like when they jump on, they'll be able to hear us. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So you said it's called
practice session.
Okay. Yeah, I'll talk to her about that. That would be helpful.
Yeah, it's just a little thing that allows you to just kind of prep, and when technical errors go on, you know, people aren't here, I can actually show you because I was logging in. I was trying to see if there was a setting on my end.
She always yells at me because I would always turn the recording off at the beginning. And then one time I forgot to start the recording until like after the intro. And she's like, I can cut this out. Like, just let it record. She's like, I'll cut the whole intro out.
Yeah.
So I get
Yeah.
yelled at.
You can record that pre-session, but yeah, so here in the webinar settings, you can do like all a bunch of stuff, but here options enable practice session right here.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Yeah. So just a little checkbox.
Okay.
One of the most powerful features in my opinion, because
Yeah.
you just never
Yeah,
know.
that would
I
be-
mean,
Yeah.
lighting, sound, whatever.
Yeah.
When's
No, that would
Frank
be
coming on?
incredibly helpful. That's usually why I jump on so early, is because I want to troubleshoot some of that stuff before, you know, everyone else does, or everyone else jumps on. I would anticipate him to be on by now, so
Cool.
he'll be here momentarily, I imagine.
Nice.
But yeah, so with the yeah, that's why I always jump on early. I didn't realize that was an option, so that'll be huge for us.
Cool.
Also, sometimes it's like some of our like with you, it's like we don't talk to you very often, right? So it's like, you know, we get on and we're just like chit-chatting and like that kind of thing. Same with like some of our other speakers. And so, you know, it's kind of nice to be incognito. Also, I usually do give them like, they take like 5 minutes, you know, all of this, but it like takes like 5 minutes or so for them to jump on. So we probably will start like 5 minutes late, but
No problem. I think I've got
then,
45 minutes of content. I can definitely stretch it or shrink it. That's not a problem for me.
Okay.
So
we don't give a specific time of like length time. We just say it starts at 7. Everyone's been going around an hour. I think the longest one we had was like an hour and 20 minutes, you know, that type of thing. Cool. So just do your thing, and
yeah,
we're not picky around here.
Cool. And I'm happy to stick around for as long as questions are like, I don't have to be anywhere until 8 p.m. Eastern. So
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You need to leave at 8 p.m. or you need to be somewhere at 8 p.m.
I mean, I can leave at 8 p.m. I mean, but that would mean 2 hours of webinar. So wait, just kidding. 9 p.m. Yep, okay. Sorry, I got the conversion wrong.
I was gonna be like, wait a minute. Yeah, no.
I meant the next hour. Yeah. So totally good there. And then I've got a lot of interactive stuff in mind too. So been doing a lot with the QR codes the last couple of years. So having more fun with that. Yeah,
we've been definitely implementing that over the last few months. Tara's been amazing with all of that kind of stuff.
Awesome.
We do have our first attendee on here, just so you know. Do you mind sharing your screen so we can just like kind of your intro screen?
Yeah.
So we'll just keep that on as we do our intros. And I'm gonna actually reach out to Frank. I don't know if you want to take a bathroom break or something before. So let me reach out to him and I'll be back momentarily.
Sweet. Hey, Ricardo. Thanks for jumping on. Or Dr. Peralta. I apologize if I did not use the correct name. Are you a doctor or a team member? Is there anything specific you're trying to get out of today? Awesome. Well, I think you're on the right webinar. That's all we're talking about. We've got 3 different big buckets we're going to be jumping into. So, and a lot of it has to do with your role as a doctor. So, yeah, that's the hard part. You know, folks no one thinks they have a problem, right? I used to have a joke. Yep. I used to have a joke that I used to say. It didn't land a lot a lot of the time, so I stopped saying it. But it was something to the effect of how many patients, if you asked 10 patients or 5 patients for that matter, how many of them had sleep apnea, how many of them would answer yes? And everyone's, yeah, exactly. None. Yeah. No one has sleep apnea. Just ask them, right? So that's my joke. But I'm not that funny, I've been told repeatedly. So there you go. All right, I'm going to use a quick restroom break before we get started. If you guys have questions, you can drop them in the question answer section beforehand, and I will make sure to get to those before we end up the webinar tonight too. Cool, Frank. Hello, Frank. I'll be right back, Frank.
Hey guys, I'm gonna get my sound going here.
Hello.
Think I can. Okay. Well, I can hear myself. Trish, can you
I
say
can hear
something?
you.
Oh,
I can
darn it,
hear
I
you.
can't hear you. Okay. Settings. So glad we're early. See? You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna log out and log right back in.
Okay.
Maybe. All right. Well, I heard something.
Can you hear me?
And now I can hear you. So weird. You know my Zooms, I think it's a Zoom that's been acting up. So hopefully all is good. How's it going? You're looking sharp.
Good. Thank you. We have a few
Don't
ducks
say I
on
lost you.
already. Chad was
Oh,
stepping out
let
to.
me try something here. Let's try something else. Leave settings.
You not hear me again?
Okay, Trish, let's try it again.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Let's cross our fingers.
Perfect.
Excellent. Hey, so how's the weather at home?
It says it's. What does it say? It is 66 here.
Chad, how you doing?
Doing good. Good. Yeah, it got cold here in California too.
So, again, I apologize. I lost my sound again. This has been happening
Oh,
recently.
fun.
Hmm,
He's been having issues
let's try
with
that again.
his sound like works and then it
Nope.
like just stops. Um,
Yeah, no luck on my end. I'm gonna try something. I'm gonna plug in a speaker. Let's see here. I'm turning off my mic for now. I mean my camera.
All right. So you said it was 66 out there. Are you in Florida?
no, I'm in Indiana.
Got it. I knew that. I'm just kidding. I didn't
Tara's
know
in
that.
Florida.
Yeah.
Tara's in Florida. Yeah.
Got it.
Everyone
Yeah,
like gets us confused. Like people will call me Tara and call her Trish, and people think I live in Florida and she lives in Indiana. Just
got it.
par for the course.
Yeah.
Although you've met
It-
us both in real life, so one is here and one is here, but
yeah, no, and I know
you
I know
can't
the
tell that behind the
names.
computer.
Yeah, I know the names, just locations
Yeah,
is
right.
a struggle bus. So
Right.
yeah, cool.
It's funny we get that a lot though. It's like, they'll reply to something with her or something with me, and I'm like, I think you meant to send that to Dara. It's a common thing.
We have 3 team members whose names start with M and are all guys that are slightly older. 2 of them have the same first name, Mike. And so for anyone talking to those group of guys, it's like, Mike, which one? I didn't know there was multiple,
Yeah.
We have Brooke and Brandy, and Brooke and Brandy are, like, I talked to Brooke or Brandy or someone whose name started with B. And I'm like, doesn't
Yeah.
really help. Yeah, I need to know.
Yeah.
Can you tell me what you talked about?
Right. Yeah, that's the thing is her and I's jobs have always been very different, but we're always I mean, this, we're a package deal that we've always
Yep.
been. So, but we do like things so side by side, but yet very different. Like I'm sales and marketing manager, and she's always been like the executor, right? So she makes everything pretty and like makes all the social media happen, and that kind of thing. And like before, she did all the like course organizing and that kind of thing. So it's like our jobs are so intertwined, but yet we do very
Right.
different things, where like it makes sense that like they would like you would get confused, but once I realize what they're talking about, I'm like, oh no, that was for the other team.
Yeah.
So, and at our old job, that was also Tina. So there's Tina, Trish, and Tara. They all did different things.
Awesome.
So, same thing.
Sorry, I'm gonna do something real quick.
Okay.
Are you guys giving out CE for this webinar?
Not for this one.
Okay.
No. The CE is usually offered. I guess we could have discussed. Like typically when we partner with, like when we've partnered with BenPat and things like that, they've supplied CE.
Got it.
True Function
Cool.
doesn't offer CE typically. Currently, that is something that will come in the future.
Cool. Yeah, it's a funny season right now where we live in Yucaipa, Southern California. No one's ever heard of Yucaipa, and we're okay with that. But we have, we're about the same temperature as you, 66, 65. I think it's kind of gotten down to 50 a couple of times here and there. And then you guys continue to get colder, and we just kind of stay there. In January, we get down to like 30 for a minute. And then by February, it's usually back up to 40, 50. But it's like, we have weather right now. So
Yeah. I feel like this time of year is like when we start separating from everyone else, like you had mentioned,
Hello,
and
everyone.
it'll just continuously get cold.
I'm still having sound trouble here.
I love when it's like rainy in San Diego and it's like sunny here, and I'm like, huh. But then February will roll around and it'll be like snowing. I'll be begging to come to the lab.
Yep.
So, yeah, but I like this time of year where it's like chillier, that type of thing, but it's not like super cold yet, it's like you can do all the fall things. So
Cool.
we're in that good window. It was actually 78 yesterday, which is like unseasonably warm, and it happened to be my husband's birthday, so I was like, perfect, let's hang out outside for like the last day of the season. So
yeah,
it'll be like
that's
in
crazy.
the 40s for trick-or-treating next week though, so it like doesn't last long.
Yeah, it was high. It was like 85 last week for us, and I was like, nope, someone messed up. Calendar's wrong.
How far are you from San Diego?
2 hours roughly.
Oh, okay. I don't think I realized you that.
Where are you again, Chad?
We're Inland Empire, so we're kind of this. If you think of the 3 legs of Southern California, we got San Diego, we've got LA, and then we have Palm Springs. Yucaipa is just directly across from San Diego, in between LA and Palm Springs. So
Got it. Got it.
yeah.
Like a triangle, huh?
Yeah, and we
Yeah.
also have 10-minute drive to the mountains. So we get
Awesome.
snow, but it's about 10 minutes away. It's wonderful.
Very cool.
Well, you can
It's
see
much shorter drive than for us. For us, we have about an hour drive to the mountains. Yeah. And snow about once a year. That's all we get.
Oh, yeah, that hour drive to the mountains, so convenient.
Awesome. Hey, thanks guys for your patience. I actually got my speaker working, so
Awesome.
glad for that. Wonderful. Trish, when you're ready, are we ready to get started?
Okay. We'll give it just a few more minutes. There's a big influx of people that are just jumping on, so we'll let them get situated. We'll give about 5 more minutes.
Great. Yeah.
For those of you that are just jumping on, you are muted and your camera is turned off. That is on purpose. Feel free to use the question and answer box or the chat box to chat with Chad, and we'll get started here in just a moment.
Also, personal
Please go ahead.
personal request, if you're on the webinar, there's these little emoticon options for anyone who's a participant. You can like raise your hand or give me a thumbs up. I'm pretty good about watching all that, so love to see your reactions. We'll have some kind of group activities and things that we'll be doing. So I'm not testing to see if you're paying attention, but a little bit. So we'll be asking you to do that. So
Awesome.
there you go. Trish raised her hand. Dig it.
Yeah, so it's working.
I didn't even mean to do that.
You're testing it out. So how do you feel about you guys probably had the weather discussion already. I'm just wondering, Chad, are you actually getting
Yeah, I had to pull out a jacket the other day. Well, I'm a big fan of this season. I love it's usually perfect during the day and then cold in the evening. And that's I love to be warm and bundled up in the evening. But I love to have my sleeves rolled up and being comfortable throughout the day. So this will last for a month or two, and then it gets a little chilly. So coats during the day. But yeah, I'm fall and spring are the best. So
they're your favorites, yeah. I'm more of a summer person, and that's why I keep this wonderful tan, I guess. I don't know. All right, it came with the package, to be honest with you, but I really like warm weather.
Awesome.
I was in San Diego a few weeks ago, or I guess it's been about a month ago now, and they were talking about how hot it was there, and it was so hot. And I got there, and it was like beautiful 75, maybe close to 80, and they're like, it's too hot. Like, you guys are spoiled.
Yeah.
It's too hot, it's too cold, and the fluctuation of 5, where we fluctuate, 100 degrees. So.
Yeah, if it gets below 65 in San Diego, we're complaining.
Frank, are you in San Diego? Did I not realize that?
We are in La Mesa, which is about 20 minutes.
I know.
Downtown San Diego. Yeah,
I know. I didn't more
realize.
in San Diego more than any other place in the world. I love San Diego. So I've almost completely exhausted the escape rooms in San Diego. So.
Oh, right on. Yeah, I haven't done an escape room in San Diego yet. Oh yeah, no, we did one. I lied. We did one in Mission Valley. Yeah, that was fun. Right on.
Okay, let's give it just one more minute here. There's still people joining us. Again, just a reminder, you are muted and your cameras are turned off. That is on purpose. And we'll get started here momentarily.
Since we got 1 minute, if you don't mind practicing your Zoom skills, go ahead and put where you are and one thing you want to get out of tonight's webinar into the chat. You should be able to chat. I'd love to see what they're, or if you can't, just put in the question and answer section. That might be a little chaotic, but we'll make it work. And yeah, love to see specific objections that you've run into, anything like that. I know Dr. Peralta was sharing with us earlier about older patients, and we'll talk some about that as well. Oh, we got some San Ramon from California out here. Nice.
Yeah.
Extra
Familiar names. Hello, Dr. Ticklepecker. It's good to see you.
Thanks, Maylin, for that objection. Big fan of that. It's one of my favorite objections, actually. Fees. That's a good one. Dig that. See, that's a very good example. And Diana, I'm actually incredibly jealous. Scottsdale is beautiful. Got to go hiking, or I don't know, it's more of a walk, glorified hike, and the cigarros over there. Pretty awesome. So, yeah.
It's a pretty view. Hey, Dr. Batoon. It's beautiful out there.
Alrighty. Okay, I think we'll go ahead and get started here. So welcome everyone. It's so good to see you all that have joined us. A little bit about Zoom. Like I had mentioned, you are on mute and your camera is turned off. The best way to view the webinar today is actually in the upper right-hand corner of that window. Click speaker view, and that'll actually allow you to give a side-by-side of Chad and the presentation. So you can kind of see both of what's going on. If you have any questions, Chad's really open to taking questions. So make sure that you put those in the chat box or the question and answer box, or if you raise your hand, we can unmute you so he can answer those questions for you. So I know, as you guys know, today's topic is going to be converting consults to cases, the art of treatment planning. So definitely stick around through the webinar and to the end, because we will be offering a promo code on demos to help with your treatment planning. So we'll share that information at the end. I'm going to pass it over to Frank here so we can talk a little bit about True Function for those individuals that aren't aware of True Function, and then we'll pass it off to Chad after that.
Wonderful. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. Again, a little bit about True Function. We are located in the San Diego area in La Mesa, California. We opened our doors in 1999, back in Y2K days, for those of you that might remember. And what we specialize in are oral devices. So, for treatment of sleep apnea, we have a variety of appliances that we can help you with, different designs, and also TMJ splints. We do a bunch of TMJ, and the majority of the work now is digitally related in some way. So hope we can continue to work with you and continue to grow with you. And that's part of the reason why we're here today, with Chad and Awaken2Sleep to hopefully help your practice to thrive, and so that we can continue to support you as well. And so we look forward to having Chad speak and tell us about how he can help your practices, and looking forward to being part of the webinar. Thank you, Chad, for coming.
No problem. Glad to be here.
Thank you, Trish.
You're welcome. Yeah. So like Frank had mentioned, here at True Function, we work closely with Awaken2Sleep to help our clinicians take their sleep practice to the next level. So we're very excited to introduce our friend Chad here today. So Chad, MBA, and is the Director of Operations and Coaching at Awaken2Sleep. He embarked on his journey through education, business development, and the dental industry that led him to dental sleep medicine. So since 2018, he has coached hundreds of dentists and teams nationwide and is the architect behind the Sleep Hero Network online academy. Using his experience, Chad coaches dental practices to build successful dental sleep practices. As someone who struggles with obstructive sleep apnea himself, he's deeply passionate about raising awareness of the significance of this health concern. As a national speaker and educator, Chad's mission is to equip others with tools to ensure success for all stakeholders.
Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'll pass that over to you.
Cool. Well, folks, today we're going to be talking about how to increase case acceptance and really the art. I'm a big fan of the idea of art. I think that there's a lot to be said about how we can customize, build things, and really make them our own. And that's kind of where that word art comes from. Before we get in, you got the formal definition from Trish of just kind of some of my background. I like to lighten it up a little bit so you guys know who I am beyond the MBA and that kind of stuff. One, I am a cowboy. This is really me on a real horse. I'm from California. Yes, born and raised here. I know it's a little weird. This is me volunteering at a nonprofit for children of the, sorry, I always stumble these words, children of the incarcerated. So parents who are in prison send their children to camp. So we get to share with them, just honestly show them what love looks like a little bit, because they're just not used to that, or they've got broken homes. So just a really awesome time to get to ride horses and eat food. And while I was supposed to be doing marketing, they needed someone who's competent on horses. And so I actually ran the horse program. A lot of fun. With that, a part of that was a ministry I volunteered at for a long time. And that's because I'm a man of faith. That is honestly, my faith is truly responsible for where I am today and a lot of the journey I've been in. And then the last thing is I'm a perpetual learner. I love to learn. In fact, one of my favorite things about webinars like this is that your questions, challenges, and objections are going to challenge me to explain something in a new way, in a new light. So I'm going to offer this to you. One, I'm going to stick around until all the questions are answered tonight. I've got an extra hour after the end of tonight, so good luck using it up. Two, if there's something I say that doesn't make sense that you want a further explanation on, or you want me to explain a different way, please put that in the question and answer section of the webinar. We want to make sure that we get to that all. And so with that, let's jump into the topic. The first thing we're going to be covering today, we're going to cover 3 big pieces, but this is the first one, hero positioning. If you think about stories, I like to think about Star Wars. I'm a big Star Wars fan. You might even think about Marvel. That's been a big franchise in the last couple of years. You've got Iron Man and Ant-Man and all the different things, Wonder Woman, all these different stories of heroes. And you ask anyone, you say, what character do you want to be in that movie? If you look at Iron Man, everyone wants to be Iron Man, right? Most people don't want to be the villain. Most people don't want to be the damsel in distress that is being saved all the time. They want to be the hero. And so if we look at this idea of a story, which Donald Miller talks a lot about in his book, Story Brand, we see that we want our patients to feel like they're the hero in the story. The villain, as we'll talk about in a moment, is going to be their sleep apnea or their disease. And the guide is going to be you. You're the one who helps the hero overcome their obstacle. Star Wars has the best example of this. This is going to be Yoda. Yoda is our guide. And so you get to be Yoda. You get to help equip them with that. Now, I apologize. We'll get quite a few Star Wars references in here, but I promise you we're going to get some valuable stuff out of it. Once we get through hero positioning, we're going to go through some role playing and some free documents I'm going to include in the presentation with QR codes that is going to help you actually have documents to download and take back to your practice and practice with your teams. So if you don't have your phone out, just get ready for that. We've got QR codes to download some documents in a little bit. Let's jump into hero positioning first. There's 3 steps in hero positioning. We've got to separate the patient from the problem. This is important because sometimes patients subconsciously associate themselves with their problems. We'll talk about that in more detail. We need to refocus the pain point as an external factor. We need to show them this pain is the villain. We need to show them your enemy is the sleep apnea. We'll talk about how to do that. And then we need to communicate the positive alternate outcome. We'll give you some very specific scripts and verbiage for this. Now, before we jump into the framework, I do want to say this. We're going to apply this a lot in our next conversations. We talk about the clinical treatment plan, the financial treatment plan. But this is a conversation that actually works wonderfully inside of that presentation when you're trying to get a patient to take home a home sleep test. Because a lot of patients don't believe they have a problem. I was talking earlier with one of our doctors on the call today, and we made the joke that no one has sleep apnea. Just ask them. We need to show them there's a problem, help them take ownership of it, and see that it's not them that's the problem, but that there's something impacting their lives. So to demonstrate our first point today, I'm going to show you a quick video. This video is going to help us see kind of an extreme example of someone who's tied together their identity to their problem.
It's just, there's all this pressure, And sometimes it feels like it's right up on me. And I can just feel it, like literally feel it in my head. And it's relentless. And I don't know if it's going to stop. I mean, that's the thing that scares me the most, is that I don't know if it's ever going to stop.
Yeah. Well, you do have a nail in your head.
It is not about the nail.
Are you sure? Because, I mean, I'll bet if we got that out of there...
Stop trying to fix it.
No, I'm not trying to fix it. I'm just pointing out that maybe the nail is causing...
You always do this. You always try to fix things when what I really need is for you to just listen.
Yeah, see, I don't think that is what you need. I think what you need is to get the nail
See,
out.
you're not even listening now.
Okay, fine. I will listen. Fine.
It's just, sometimes it's like there's this achy, I don't know what it is. And I'm not sleeping very well at all. And all my sweaters are snagged. I mean, all of them.
That sounds really hard.
It is. Thank you. Ow!
Oh, come on. If you would just...
Don't.
Try to see things my way. Do I have to keep?
So it's not about the nail. We see, first of all, I just got to take a poll. If you think that's funny, can you give me a hand raise on your Zoom? This is another Zoom test function. Yes, thank you. Yes, we got Julia, Maylin. Awesome. All right, sweet. You guys are paying attention. Trisha's raising her hand. Love it. So we see that it's not about the nail. And from what I've learned in working with dental practices, and when I was working in the dental practice, we have a lot of patients who sound just like that. They don't use the nail word, but it sounds like, well, I don't have bruxism, or I don't think I have a cavity in that tooth, or yeah, it hurts. That's not what you're saying isn't the problem, right? We have a lot of patients who resist these ideas, and that's just a part of this problem. Their pain is part of their identity, or they don't see the pain for what it is. So why do we need to separate these patients from their pain? Well, it's because we have to make sure that they see the pain as a problem, that they see the pain as something that can be fixed. It's like the squeaky door. If we understand why the door squeaks, we know that we can fix it. But if they don't think it's something that can be fixed, if it's a part of their identity, then they can't. An example of this in sleep. I've always been a snorer. My whole family snores. If you try to fix the snoring, that person may perceive it as you trying to fix them. That's not our objective. So we need to take a second and we need to separate that pain. So here's your script. Take a picture of this, screenshot it. I've given permission for the team to distribute this PowerPoint as a PDF so you guys can get access to this as well. But has your doctor or anybody else told you about the fact that your airway might be attacking your sleep? I've highlighted a couple pieces here. Has your doctor or anyone? Your doctor, not that the dentist isn't a doctor, you guys are, that's a fact. But when you bring up to question that their doctor, their medical doctor should have brought this up to them, it starts to build credibility to the concern, and it starts to make them question why they haven't. The second thing is the fact, again, to that credibility component. We know that the data in the world today, the amount of clinical studies that share that sleep-related breathing disorders are impacting patients' lives, that snoring impacts the heart, that sleep apnea causes bruxism, acid reflux, daytime fatigue, all these different components, we know that those are facts. They're indisputable. So we're going to be confident in that verbiage and also build credibility. And if they ask us about it, well, I recommend having a couple quick one or two liners like I just listed off about the impact that we can have. And the airway. Airway is important. Everyone's got one, and we know that if we don't have one, we don't have long left. So that's important. Attacking is now we're separating that pain, right? You can't be attacked by yourself, not usually. That's a different type of medicine. We don't do that in dentistry, but something's going to attack you. It's an external force. In sleep, we've now bridged the idea of sleep. And I know one of the problems we'll talk about is sleep. We can actually get rid of sleep. We can replace that with some other words that can help out if sleep is causing some objections. So we'll talk about that later. But this is your first script. And this is how we can help position that pain point as outside of the patient. So a couple questions you can ask that help clarify. When snoring happens, or when you wake up gasping for air in your sleep, what do you do? When these things happen, what does your spouse do? And when these things happen, how does it make you feel? When you ask these questions, you're gathering information that helps inform the next couple steps. And each of these questions is designed to help separate that pain from the patient. So go ahead and take a picture of that real quick. Again, you guys can get a PDF later. Our second step in this hero positioning is to refocus their pain points. We've now taken the pain away from the person. We've separated those two entities. And now we need to point their attention to it. Just like Yoda told Luke Skywalker to go attack Darth Vader, right? He focused the enemy. The patient now has a mission. They have a problem that they can know they can fix. So what pain point hurts the most? That's the question we've got to ask. What thing, if we solved it, would make the biggest impact for our patient? There's a story we teach in a lot of our courses about a lady named Ruth, and her pain point. The reason she tested and got an appliance was because she started feeling drowsy when driving her grandkids. And that was tremendously important to her. She wanted to be safe when she drove her grandkids. And the fact that daytime fatigue and drowsy driving could be tied to an airway issue, she was all on board. We tested her, we verified the fact that it was an airway issue, and she moved forward with an appliance because we were going to help her not feel tired when driving her grandkids. That was her pain point, and we showed her that it can be fixed. So tools to do this, and this is more for the screening conversation. We will show you the rest of our conversation today is actually about tools in the consult. But we've got cone beam. If you have one of those, you can use a 3D image to, depending on your field of view, to actually show the restricted airway. There's quantitative studies showing that the volumetric capacity of the airway could be indicative of an airway problem. It's not tied to sleep, so this is a kind of fun one. Obviously, we don't want to increase radiation to patients to screen for airway, but if you have the tech and you're using it like this, it's a great tool. Sleep screeners, we have a bunch of them if you need one, but you got the Mallampati, you've got the Epworth, we have our own custom screener. There's tons of them out there. The Mallampati's on that list, and then intraoral photos. There's nothing quite so convincing in dentistry as showing them where the problem originates. And you guys know this. This is just review, some ideas, but if you show them acid reflux, inflamed gums, bruxism, things that are indisputable with photo evidence, then the patient can start to see that maybe it's not them, maybe it's their sleep apnea. And we're not going to get into how those things cause sleep today or how sleep causes those issues today, but there are definite studies out there that prove those beyond a reasonable doubt. So our second script for this hero positioning, other patients in our practice, so social proof, other patients in our practice with these same signs were shocked when they found out that a sleep issue was causing their drowsy driving, was causing them from gasping in their sleep. It kind of seems weird that wouldn't connect to me, but you guys get what I'm saying. You guys can customize this to make sure that it fits for your needs. Other patients in our practice, social proof, found that these same signs, relatability, were shocked when they found out that a sleep issue was causing their concern. Now, one powerful tip that I like when I'm customizing my verbiage, when I talk to patients, when I talk to family members or stubborn friends, I replace the word sleep for airway. When they found out that an airway issue was causing their waking up at night, when an airway issue was causing their drowsy driving, when an airway issue was causing them to feel tired throughout the day. So there's your second script. And then we've got step 3, which is their positive alternate outcome. Now here, this is where you're going to really need your notes. Ideally, in your screening conversation, if you're administering a home sleep test, you noted down why the patient's testing. What was it in their life? Was it the drowsy driving with the grandkids? Was it the gasping for air throughout their night? Was it the fact that they haven't slept in the same room as their spouse for over 5 years? Whatever the story is, whatever that problem that we identified in number 2, the most impactful pain point that we refocus them on, what would it look like if they fix that? Now, I'm going to show you a video of a company that offers a sleep treatment that's not oral appliance therapy, that's done an amazing job at painting this picture, what we call the positive alternate outcome, or PAO. And then we give you your script, which is very simple, but very powerful when you talk to patients. So let's look at the video real quick, and then we'll get to the script.
This is Mike. Mike has moderate to severe obstructive sleep apnea. After years of struggling with CPAP and constantly being tired, Mike felt hopeless. Then Mike found out about Inspire. Inspire is the only FDA-approved obstructive sleep apnea treatment that treats the root cause of sleep apnea with just the click of a button. Inspire is a small device that keeps your airway open using a gentle pulse. It's implanted in the body with 3 small incisions in a same-day outpatient procedure. After the procedure, Mike works with his doctor to fine-tune his Inspire. Once it's fine-tuned, Mike simply clicks the remote to turn on Inspire and goes down to sleep. While Mike is asleep, Inspire monitors his breathing. Every time he takes a breath, A gentle pulse moves the tongue out of the way and keeps Mike breathing freely. And more importantly, sleeping soundly, the way he used to. This has been a total game changer for Mike. Mike is getting more out of life and back to being his old self again. No mask, no hose, just sleep.
If you haven't, I thoroughly encourage you to I encourage you to thoroughly investigate the Inspire device. There's a lot of fun things about it, including its cost, including the fact that it's non-reversible, including the fact that compliance is worse than oral appliance therapy. But what we know for sure about their video and their marketing is that they've done this incredibly well. They found the problem. They showed that the problem was causing the patients problems in life or their issues in life. And then they showed them what happens when they treat that problem. And so here, the number 3 script that we're going to use for that third step, the simple but powerful one, is what would it be like if? How would that make you feel? What would it be like if you could have energy throughout your day? Would it be like if you could get up early in the morning and go for a run, or sleep in the same bed as your partner, or if you could drive the grandkids without feeling drowsy? And this is the framework. And again, you're going to apply this differently in different parts of the conversation with your patients. But if we can have this in mind as we're having our dialogue and kind of use this as a checklist, is the patient still tied to their pain as part of their identity? Okay, we need to separate that. 2, does the patient understand that their airway, their sleep disorder, is causing their pain in their life? Like, do they understand that choking in your sleep is actually what's causing the tiredness? And 3, have they thought about what it looks like to treat this? And if they haven't done those 3 things, then it's going to be really challenging for them to own their disease and move forward with treatment. And so this is going to inform and be in the background of our next 2 conversations, which is our actual consults. So again, if you guys have questions, comments, concerns, or my personal favorite, cries of outrage, please make sure to put those into the chat and or the question and answer section. I want to make sure to get to them before we end our call. We'll get to all questions at the end here. But let's jump into the actual consults and show you a couple tips and techniques that you can use to get more cases. The 2 consults we're going to be using here are going to be clinical and financial. The clinical consult is typically done by a doctor or what we call a back office sleep champion. We do recommend that these are 2 separate consults, and this is similar to dental treatment planning, but we want to make sure that the treatment plan is separate from the dollars. We have to make sure that when a patient gets the recommendation, that they're in the back of their mind, they're not worried about how much it's going to cost or what lifestyle it's providing for the dentist or any of those things. I know, and you know, that that's not a factor for you. You wouldn't probably be on this webinar if it was, frankly. But the patient sometimes has that thought, especially when we have the conversation in the same consult. And so if you are someone who's doing both, if you are someone who's doing a clinical consult and the financial consult, you are what we call an entire or a complete full sleep champion, then I'd recommend switching physical locations and putting a small buffer between those 2 conversations. That way, there's a different frame of mind, and the patient's not worried about finances in that time, and you can transition that. So that's our first tip here that you got is separating those 2 out. And we're going to go through both of them individually, what you need, and some of the best practices for each of them. So first up is our clinical consult. Here, we've got a couple things we want to hit on. First up, patients got to know they got a diagnosis. What level of the disease do they have? They also need to know that there's a path to treat that disease. They need to know the risk, benefits, and alternatives, meaning what are the risks of treatment, what are the benefits of treatment, and what options exist outside of the treatment that's being recommended. And then, most importantly, we got to make sure the patient owns their disease. So let's jump into our first document. Now, here is a QR code. You're going to see this QR code on the next couple screens. So don't worry if you don't pull up the phone fast enough. Also, I did find this out in testing it. If on the next QR code it doesn't work, all the QR codes in this section are the same, then you just need to close out the camera app and reopen it. It should allow you to scan another QR code. But this is a mild to moderate case study that we use in a lot of our courses. And I'm going to go through a couple of the hallmarks that we hit on in these case study reviews to show you exactly how we recommend going through your sleep test. I know that conversion, we know that getting patients to yes actually starts in screening, but for today's purpose, we're going to focus in on that consult after the test. Now, your test may not look like this, and that's okay. You can absolutely apply the techniques here to your home sleep test. And I'm happy to get on the phone personally with anyone who wants to brainstorm that and see how our frameworks, our recommendations apply to your test. So don't worry, the QR code is still there in the bottom corner. When you're looking at a sleep test, make sure that you've got a couple things. This is for medical insurance, but also patient confidence. First up is you got to make sure it's a recent study. Medical insurance likely won't even accept it if it's over a year old. Some very rarely will do 2 years, but it's got to be a recent study. The second thing is you got to have a physician recommendation for treatment. That's critical because that's one of the tools that we'll leverage to say, hey, the physician recommended, right? You as a dental provider are acting as a conduit for the physician's recommendation. We also got to have a diagnosis. If you look just above the recommendation, you can see that this, which is not your case study, by the way, we'll go over that in just a moment, has a mild diagnosis. And then last but not least, and this is a little technical, we need a signature. If you don't have a signature, whether it says digitally signed or traditional signature, then the physician actually may not have seen this report. And it's not considered an official diagnosis. That's something that happens in the medical field sometimes because sleep techs will prepare reports. And as a result, they sometimes get sent before they get to the physician. So just check that. That doesn't happen too much in dental sleep medicine that I've seen, but it does happen in the medical community. So let's jump into our mild to moderate. I'm going to focus in on this first part and give you a couple of the things that we want to focus on. And then I'm going to run through some of the verbiage I would use in going through this. Before we do that, though, I want to give you a quick story of a client I was coaching. We went through a version of this training. It was more private, more one-on-one coaching situation. But I said, all right, guys, this is what we're going to do. I want you guys to try these tips in this way and do this. The next coaching call comes around. She says, I took your idea. I really loved everything you told us. I customized it. I actually added some stuff into it. And I really like what I'm doing. I'm confident I'm going to get results. Fast forward 30 days. They had 5 cases that they presented. 0 of them accepted treatment. I said, okay, I don't need to be right. It's not important to me whatsoever. But you had mentioned you added things to the consult. I'm going to recommend that you take away everything except for what I said. Let's start with incredibly simple, and let's go from there. Incredibly simple, do these things, and let's just go for 30 days. Let's see what happens. After 30 days, they had done 5 more consults, and 3 of those cases accepted on the spot on the day of. And this was the same person doing the clinical consult and the financial consult. So I have no problems if you adding, modifying, changing, but here's the most important piece. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. That is the most important thing here. People don't care what you know until they know that you care. And patients, unless they're a doctor or an engineer, usually don't understand words like oxyhemoglobin saturation. Completely over their head. So when we're talking to these patients, let's make sure to put it in terms that they understand and keep it simple. That's why I didn't include the rest of the document on the screen, because this is all we need to make an impact. So this is how I'd have the conversation with the patient. We'll call her Mrs. Jones. Mrs. Jones, first, I just want to say I'm super grateful that we tested, because we did find that there was an airway problem impacting her sleep in a pretty big way. And we're going to go through the tests in some different pieces. Please stop me at any point in time if you have any questions. I want to make sure that you understand this as well as I do. First up is our observations. These are the observations that the physician noted that played a role in the diagnosis that you received. First up, we see that on average, your oxygen level was about 94%. That's actually pretty good. I was encouraged to see that. We want to see it about 95, 96 if we can, but 94 isn't too far off of that. What is concerning is the fact that your oxygen dropped as low as 83%. Why is that concerning? Because if you were in a hospital setting and you were doing the same test, which they do in hospitals occasionally, they would have placed you on supplemental oxygen when your oxygen dropped, because after 90%, you're starting to experience a lot of oxygen deprivation. It's kind of like trying to hold your breath underwater for too long. It starts to have a really big impact on your body and is incredibly unhealthy in long spurts. So good news is we have some options. We can help that, but that was concerning. Further, we actually saw that on average, you have an AHI here of 15.3 events per hour. Now, what that means, it's fancy words, fancy letters for the amount of times that you either stop breathing or almost stop breathing in your sleep per hour. So while you took the test home, you stop breathing on average every 4 minutes in your sleep. So it makes a lot of sense that your teeth are grinding, that you're feeling tired at work. Because if I woke up every 4 minutes, I'd be pretty beat up. And so, like I said, I'm really glad that we got you tested because now we know what's going on. The second number down here, or fourth number down here, the RDI, this is the amount of times that you stop breathing per hour or almost stop breathing per hour, plus a couple other events that woke you up. They weren't quite choking in your sleep, but they were just events that were close to that woke you up in your sleep and further hindered your ability to get good sleep. And luckily, we only had a couple of those, half per hour roughly. Using this information, the physician actually diagnosed you with moderate obstructive sleep apnea and recommended a consult with someone like me, a dentist, to provide oral appliance therapy for obstructive sleep apnea. I'd like to talk to you about the oral appliance in a little bit. I want to finish the test first, but we'll go through the appliance and then also some other options that you have that we can use to get ahead of your airway concern. So if you have no questions, I want to continue on to actual report. Again, keeping it simple, guys, and for you, and I apologize, guys, the word guys is California y'all. It's gender neutral. My sync is guys. I apologize, but no offense intended there. If you have questions, if you have concerns, if you have objections, please, I love objections. Throw them in the chat, throw them in the question and answer. We're here for that. Going on to the next page. We see a lot of numbers. The only thing the patient looks at on this page is the green to red scale. Think about it. We drive in traffic. Green means go, red means stop, and yellow means speed up. Okay, maybe it means slow down for you. Just depends on how long it's been yellow, right? But when we look at this, we know that this patient right here is in the orange. They're on their way to red, and we're going to use that in our conversation. The other thing we want to do is we want to actually let them know that this was their test. Every patient is asking this question. They may not ask you out loud, but they're always asking the question. And this is how we're going to, one, prove the test is real, and two, build value in this page. So, Mrs. Jones, it looks like you actually tested for about 6 hours and 40 minutes. You went to sleep, or at least put the test on around 10:30, 10:24. Does that sound about right? Okay, good. And then lights on. This is actually when you turned off the test, about 5 o'clock in the morning. She'll probably say, I was kind of drowsy. It was just uncomfortable, so I took it off. You said I needed 6 hours. So that sounds about right. Perfect. Yeah. So of the 6 hours and 37 minutes, we got about 5 hours of good data, which is a really good test. Really glad that you did it for the full 6 hours so we can get that. But as you can see here, this is that number we talked about earlier, the amount of times that you stop breathing or almost stop breathing. It looks like you're at moderate. And why I said I'm grateful is that because we caught it here, we actually can catch it, treat it, and make sure that it doesn't go all the way to the red. We want to avoid that as much as possible. And so with this, we can also see, I know you were saying that you don't think you snore. I am sorry to inform you that here we have just a little bit of snoring, of a couple thousand events over the course of your 5 hours. Not a big deal, very common. It's probably soft snoring. That's probably why you didn't realize you had it, but we're also going to be able to help out with that. The snoring is actually a part of this airway concern, this sleep apnea. The sleep apnea likely causes your snoring. So we'll actually be able to remedy that as well. Going on, I just want to look at the night and just show you the positional data. Now here, it looks like you're tossing and turning quite a bit at night. This is usually due to these events themselves. But we can see that when you're sleeping on your back, you actually have a little bit worse score. It looks like about 19 events per hour, which is a pretty significant increase. But unfortunately, sleeping on your side, which is one of our possible alternatives, still results in a pretty concerning score. So I do want to show you that there is a factor there. So we'll probably recommend some side sleeping either way, just to reduce that. But we can't get rid of it entirely with that, which is where the appliance will come in. I'm going to pause right here. I'm not going to talk about anything else on this page because it doesn't matter. They're just numbers. People don't like numbers. How many times do you check your bank and are just super excited to log into that and look at all the money you spent lately? Probably not often. You have to for accounting purposes. I get it. But when we look at this, that's just not a thing we enjoy. So here, the same thing for patients. Let's skip over, talk about the colors. and then move on. Keep it simple. This is going to be on our third page. Mrs. Jones, this is really where I want to spend the majority of our time. See, what we do, we know the amount of events that you had, and that's important. We also know how long these events were. I mentioned earlier that it's the amount of times you stop breathing or almost stop breathing in your sleep. What I didn't mention was that it has to be at least 10 seconds or longer. For you, they're actually always double on average, 26 seconds per event, and some of them almost 3/4 of a minute, 42 seconds. And so these lengths of the line are actually your events and how long they happened and when they happened. So with that, we can see that your desaturations, which that's when your oxygen was dropping, they match up perfectly with these events here. And so we can see this going on and you're snoring. So if we back up just a second, we can see that here, right before 1 a.m., you actually had events that were going on. Same thing with your other rotation here at right before 2 a.m. We see that we have a lot of concentration of events going on, and this is causing you to move around because your body's uncomfortable because you're not breathing in your sleep. Now, the good news is that we can see here that we have hypopneas and not on full apneas. So if we had apneas, that's when you choke in your sleep. This is when you almost stop breathing. I want you to think of trying to breathe through a coffee straw. That's what the hypopnea is. And so the good news is that typically hypopnea, when we have a large amount of hypopneas, they actually help us have a better result in treatment. And so that moves us to our last section here. And this is where I'm most concerned. Because when we look at this, and I just want to ask you, do you think that this looks like a resting heart rate on the bottom here? I don't think so either. And we see that your heart rate is jumping up. But what I also see, let's look at this 2 a.m. spot, because this seems to be a bit of a hot spot for us, is we see here that your oxygen drops. Here's that minimum I was very concerned about. You see, every time you drop below this blue line right here, that's that 90% I was talking about. But when you drop down here, your heart rate freaked out. It just jumped. And then it's jumping up and down. And that can't be healthy for our hearts. It's just not healthy. And that's why a lot of times, airway concerns are tied to hypertension, drug-resistant hypertension, diabetes, because we have these concerns going on. And so looking at this, our goal in treatment with this, the goal with this is to help reduce the impact of your airway on this by opening the airway with the appliance. And that will help us to make sure that your airway stays open, keeping your oxygen up, and your heart rate looking much more calm. We like to see your heart rate looking much more like this the entire night here about 4 a.m. But we see a lot of chaoticness in your heart rate. So with that, do you have any questions? Now at this point, and you can kind of customize that. You can go a little deep. There's a little role play you can do about choking your sleep and your heart and all that stuff. But that's the gist of it. We want to focus in on what the disease is causing, what the disease is doing to their body. And we do that with pictures because pictures communicate. From there, doctors, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be talking about their alternatives. You can say something very, very brief. Mrs. Jones, look, the physician talked about appliances, and I want to talk to you at length about that. But if you have questions about alternatives, I'm happy to share with you. The alternatives include surgeries, CPAP, and lifestyle changes. There is one other alternative that I want to make sure that we take off the table right away, and that's nothing. If you do nothing about this, then the concerns that we talked about, the drowsy driving, the hypertension, the morning headaches, the daytime fatigue, that's going to get worse. And on top of that, with where you are, if this goes untreated, studies have shown that we could actually lose 7 to 10 years of your life because of this untreated disease. So what's most important to me here is not that you get an appliance. We're happy to provide that for you. We do it. We love it. It's a very powerful treatment for a lot of our patients. But the most important thing that we agree to today is that you're going to do something about this disease. Do you have any questions for me? At that point, if they've got questions about surgeries or CPAP or things like that, I recommend you have some knowledge on that. It's very easy to acquire that knowledge. You can always email us. We teach in 30 minutes on this one slide sometimes. And so that's important to know. And you should have a one sentence version of it and a 5-minute version of it so that you can have an educated and informed conversation with your patient. So what's next? Well, Here, we've got the patient to own their disease. We've got them to see that agree to treatment, because that's what you did, doctors at this time. You said, the patient said, I'm going to agree to treatment. And then they said, how much is it? Doctors, I'm going to encourage you, even if you know the fee, please feign ignorance, because it's a disservice to your patients for you to quote your fee. You know what, Mrs. Jones, that's a great question. I have very little to do with that in our practice. I used to know numbers a long time ago, but I focus more on the clinical side. Susie up front is actually going to help you with that. She's going to help you, give you all the options that we have. I don't know the cost off the top of my head, but I can tell you that we have a lot of options to make sure that you can get into treatment. So I'll connect with Susie. You guys will connect, and then you guys will be good to go. And then cue Susie, who's going to come in and talk about our financial consult. Now, here's your checklist for your consult. And in a second, you have another QR code that's going to give you a consult form that we've seen have powerful results in practices. So first up, it's got to be valuable. Respectfully to appliances. I've got a bunch of them behind me. True Function has a lot of amazing appliances, but patients with no clinical knowledge and understanding don't understand the cost, the work, the maintenance, the education you had to take to be able to make these appliances, and they don't understand how valuable it is. So we've got to build value. I'm going to show you how to do that. You got to also make it easy to understand. Words like titration, words like vertical measurement. They don't care. They just want to know if it fits, if it's comfortable, and if it's going to work. And so we got to make sure that they understand how it works in a simple way, and make sure that it's easy to say yes. Okay. The treatment plan has to make sense to them. It's got to be affordable, and it's got to be simple to say yes. We got to make it easy. So how do we make it easy? Well, here is your little cheat sheet. We're going to go through this section by section. It's a lot shorter than the last section, but you'll catch along. And this is big. You slap your logo on this, make it up your own. I think we use Microsoft Office or Google Docs for this. I mean, it's not complicated. One thing is it does account for medical insurance, but I can tell you that medical insurance can be a challenge for a lot of practices. And so let's dive in. We're going to go over, actually, before we go over that, I'm going to tell you a couple tips and techniques that we've seen work effectively for this. First up, sounds corny, I'm totally aware, but you need to have a regular sun-powered, solar-powered calculator with like soft buttons. You guys know what I'm talking about? They're, they even have roll-up ones now. They're pretty cool. But get one of those old cool calculators that you can calculate some options for them on the spot. It helps them feel like it's custom. Also, give them the form like this, blank. Write their name on it, write their date of birth on it in front of them, because they want to know that it's for them. Number two is when you're going through the points, which we talk about in just a moment, is make sure that you're touching each bullet point with your pen, highlighting with words and demonstrating with your I have a mouse, so we'll say my mouse, case initiation, oral appliance adjustments, titration tests. Now this is again for that front office person or treatment coordinator or front office sleep champion. And then you're going to write your fee. If you are billing medical insurance, make sure that you've got an accurate depiction of their fee. If you're unsure of what that fee is and you're out of network, then you can absolutely put their cash fee and then refund them the difference if insurance pays later. But make sure that you have an accurate fee that's here. And then we'll go over the third-party financing options and then get their agreement. We'll talk about some of these, and I'm going to talk a little bit about third-party financing and why that is such a powerful tool. Hope you got the form. Just kidding. You can also get it on this page. So the comprehensive treatment plan. Donald Miller, I mentioned him earlier. He wrote the Story Brand book that talks about how to build a story. But we need to build tremendous value. And so here, I'm going to go through this in long form so you guys, as dental professionals, understand everything. But with this, just make sure that you have a short version of it. Please don't take as long as I'm going to in going through these. Try and make it shorter. Case initiation, planning, consultation. Doctors, your doctors. I went to the doctor the other day and we talked for 30 minutes and my insurance probably paid her $150 because of her time to consider what's going on in my life and to process orders on the computer while I was still in the room with them, right? Your expertise, you went to school for that. It's valuable and it's time you got recognized for it. Your front office coordinator needs to build value in the work you're going to do, from the appliance you're going to select, to the impressions you're going to take, to the starting position, to the final position, to all the stuff that goes into your treatment plan, especially if you're doing extra TMJ considerations. That is a lot of work, and it's valuable work. So we're going to build value in that. The oral appliance. Pretty much every appliance nowadays is warranted for 2 years, and many of them are warranted for longer. So understand what that is. And if you have an appliance in mind, then write in your warranty length, because that way you can build in that warranty. Trish, I don't know if you can put the warranty, the standard warranty for your sleep appliances in the chat, that'd be fantastic, just so they can customize this to meet that specific need. Additionally, you're going to cover appliance adjustments for 2 years. What does that mean? That means that when the patient needs a crown and you got to, burr out some of the space because it changed a little bit because you weren't using a scanner or something, you're going to cover that. If it's uncomfortable, you're going to cover that. In my experience, dentists don't charge to make adjustments to restorative work, which is a little silly, in my opinion. I understand it's standard of care, and you guys are amazingly generous folks. Thank you very much for your kind service. But if I go to my doctor to ask him a question about my CPAP, he's going to charge me $30, and that's my copay, not even what he's making. So that is, again, valuable, and we need to draw attention to that value that we're building in this. We do recommend that you have titration tests, and actually the ADA in 2019 updated their position statement to say that you should be using testing to verify efficacy of the treatment. But your titration tests to see how well the test is performing, depending on your test, that could be expensive. The test I showed you is not. That was a $6 cannula and a set of batteries to run that test. The AI read costs $20, but $25, you're going to do 3 or 4 of those. Maybe it's 8 if you're a super complicated patient. Build it into your fee. And then you are going to do one more efficacy home sleep test, and this is going to close your liability loop. It's a physician saying this is done. So if they paid for the initial home sleep test, you build that into your fee for your appliance, and now you're saying, yeah, well, you've got, let's say it's $3,500. $3,500, you got a $200 home sleep test that's covered. You've got 3 to 5 $200 home sleep tests. You wouldn't charge them even if that much if you were doing titration testing usually, but that's another $1,000. Adjustments, a warranty, and all the work to get started. Now we're starting to make sense of these large fees. Tremendously valuable, right? So we get the patient to get excited about this, and they're probably thinking, oh my goodness, how much is this going to be? And then we have to drop the bomb. Mrs. Jones, it looks like after your insurance, because of your deductible being so high, I'm sorry about that. There's nothing we can do to fix that. You're going to be at about $3,500 for this treatment plan. And she says, oh my goodness, that is a lot of money. You say, but don't worry. Doctor has helped us work out some creative options for you. One, if you are in a position where you want to pay for this upfront, we're going to knock off 5% right out of the gate. 2, we have some in-house financing. Now, we have to make sure the appliance is paid for before you walk out with it in about a month from now. But we can break this up into 3 or 4 weekly payments. You can do half now, half on delivery, whatever you want to do. You can do 1/3 now, 1/3 on impressions, 1/3 on delivery, whatever. My note to you as a provider: do not let your patient walk out of your practice with a removable device and not paying the entire fee. Please don't do that. It's not braces. You may have noticed I have braces. Doing some more of the work. It's fantastic. I'm not getting these removed anywhere else, right? They do internal financing because they're confident I'm going to come back. Let's not put our patients in a position to test that trust. The third option is third-party financing. And when I first started in dental, I didn't understand this, and then I really understood it, and now I just kind of disagree with the general attitude towards it. And that is that you should be offering, if it's only for sleep, you should be offering 24 months of financing with the best possible financing for your patients. Care Credit charges 16.9%. On a $3,500 treatment plan, that comes out to roughly $580 in cost. You can check my math, it's plus or minus $10. $580 in cost. If after all of your costs are considered and you don't make enough money offering the 24-month option through a third-party financing company, then you need to raise your fee. You can't charge for a third party, but you can always discount for cash. You need to set a fee that allows it to make it easy for your patients, because $3,500 over 24 months using care credit comes out to $146 a month. In the chat, real quick, out of 5 patients you offer $146 a month to, how many say yes? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is it all of them? 90% of them? How many is that? Go and put that in the chat for me. There are also third-party companies that come through, and we see that those financing companies, I heard of one, I'm vetting it right now, so I don't want to say who it is. They offer a 5-year financing agreement. It's like $80 a month for your patient, and you get paid tomorrow. Like, that's crazy. So when we look at this, we see that third-party financing is part of the key, and it doesn't matter what their deductible is. It doesn't matter what their insurance covers because it's affordable. It's easy to say yes. The questions patients have: is it valuable enough? And can I afford it? People buy what they want. People buy what they want and they buy what they need. So here we have to make sure this fits into one of those 2 categories. Also, let's be real. Financing is a part of the world today. You can't buy an $18 dog toy from Amazon without being offered to break it up into 6 payments with your Amazon credit card, which, not to preach, but if you can't afford the $18 dog toy, you shouldn't be buying the $18 dog toy. Okay? All right. Sorry. Off my soapbox. So going back to what we talked about in the beginning, if we understand their patient's pain points, we understand what problems they're experiencing and what this impacts, we can actually tie that financial conversation to that pain point. Mrs. Jones, I know this seems like a lot of information. Yes, we're going to do a lot in here, and I know that dollar amount might seem like a lot to you, but if this helps you feel energized during the day, if this helps you not need to drink the coffee, if this helps you to share your bedroom with your partner, is that worth it to you? Doctors graciously agreed to offer this up into 24 payments for you, assuming you get approved, and we eat the cost. Like we are paying a large amount to help you do that. It's worth it to us to help you with that. Is it worth it to you? And then here's the kicker. Here, you ready? If they don't say yes, then we have a problem. They don't understand their disease and their problem. They don't understand the villain. They don't understand what's going on in their story. And as such, we might need to do a clinical intervention, right? Bring the doctor in and say, hey, Mrs. Jones isn't quite there yet. She seems like she's got some questions about the treatment. You guys can do that. Again, don't be pushy, and no one likes to be hard sold. So be mindful about that. But if the patient has questions, well, then let's get them answered. Let's make sure they're confident in the treatment like you are. And then number 2, if there's still a no, then we need to treat this disease like the life-threatening disease that it is. Mrs. Jones, I completely understand that you don't want to move forward. I want to make sure that, as Doctor probably talked about, like we believe in not doing nothing. It sounds weird, I know, but we don't want to do nothing. And so as such, we have medical facilities that we refer to that provide CPAPs and surgical options. And I just, I'm sorry that your deductible wasn't low enough for us to be able to help you with your insurance. I know that there's benefits to that. You get cheaper doctor visits elsewhere. It should eat up a large part of your deductible, but we want to make sure that you get this treated. It is vital, critical, crucial, whatever word you want. It is life-giving to give this treatment, and we need to get something. So do you have a medical center that you'd like us to refer you to, or do you want us to refer you to our network? And now you have an opportunity to build a physician relationship in your area, build community, and get referrals. And there you go. You lost one patient, but you opened up a door for a boatload of another. But you guys get it. So with that, questions, comments, concern, or cries of outrage, if you guys had any problems downloading any of the documents that I sent over in the QR codes, here's another QR code, or you can email me and my team at info@Awaken2Sleep and just request anything you want. We'll give you the documents. I'll give you a link to schedule a call. We'll give you, I don't know, we've got a bunch of different things. So you tell us what you want, what you need. And if you're not even sure, then let's connect. Our coaches we've got so many resources, and we just want to help you help patients. You'll make money and they'll be happier, bottom line. So that's information is there. Also, I know that Trish and the team at True Sleep are working on a crazy promo for you. I can't tell you how beneficial that having these model appliances is in your practice. You know, a lot of patients are worried about how comfortable these things are. And if you show them an appliance like this, these milled appliances, you know, maybe unprofessional to say, but they're borderline sexy compared to a CPAP. These are a lot more appealing to patients, and you can offer them. Also, they're clear, which is, I think that's the way things are going. You look at my iPhone case is clear. You know, that's people like that because it's small, it's milled, it's comfortable, they can hold it, it's tangible. So you can get your starter kit, get these models, which are invaluable treatment tools, for 50% off. I'm sorry, for a really good percent off, and you get your first 2 cases for 50% off. So I don't work for True Sleep, but it's a pretty awesome deal. So I don't have any questions.
Yeah.
So figured I'd hit your guys' promo for you.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Chad. By
that.
the way, if Mike doesn't mind, you can hang out with us the other when you're supposed to be sleeping.
Excellent.
We really
Well,
appreciate the wonderful presentation. I'll stay out of the way here.
yeah, absolutely. And we'll open up for questions for Chad in just a moment. So if you have those questions, throw them in the chat box or raise your hand, and Chad will get to those in just 1 second. So take your time doing that. We want to thank everyone, of course, for joining us. If you have any questions in regards to the lab point of view, those appliances for treatment, feel free to keep us updated. The new account form link, the first link that is in the chat box, will allow you to create an account with us if you're not already working with us, so that we can get those questions answered for you and get those appliances in those patients' hands. So that's the first link in the chat. And like Chad had mentioned, our promo code is 60% off those starter kits. So you'll want to use the sleep demo kit code until Friday, November 3rd. The link for that is also in the chat, allowing you to get the demo kits. And those are great. Like Chad had mentioned, it's 2 demos, a milled morning aligner demo, a morning positioner sample, bite tab samples, and then 50% off your first 2 cases with us or your next 2 cases with us. So great way to get those appliances in those offices, or in the operatory, so you're able to show those patients exactly what they should be expecting in treatment. So that's a great deal that we're running, like I said, through the end of this month, through the end of next week. So go ahead, click on the link, use the code Sleep Demo Kit, and that'll get you the discount for a couple more weeks. We'll invite you to, of course, join us on social media, where we post our tech tips, our webinar updates, and any specials that we're running. We do offer, of course, different webinars throughout the year, so keep an eye on that there. Our next webinar is going to be featuring Airway Management's FlexTap regarding getting started and growing your dental sleep practice. We are taking a little hiatus for November, since the end of November, of course, will be Thanksgiving. So this one will be actually early December, Wednesday, December 6th. So the registration link is in the chat. That's the 3rd link in there. So we hope you'll join us for the next webinar. And as always, if there's any topics that you want us to discuss, feel free to put those in the chat box as well. And we're happy to address any of those topics that you may really want addressed in regards to your practice. We'll be emailing the recording of this webinar either by the end of this week or early next week. We'll have that out to you. So keep an eye on your email, especially if you want to share this with your sleep champion or anyone from your team that Chad had mentioned. So if you have any additional questions, like I said, feel free to let us know, raise your hand, put it in the chat box, and Chad will be happy to address those questions as we conclude here.
Yeah, I do have one question that was kind of talked about earlier. Before I do, we put this together specifically for you folks who are attending, or I guess if you're watching the recording. We really appreciate True Function and their effort to empower the community. And so we're giving $200 off our courses, and actually you can use the coupon code for any course. We didn't limit that, but TF for True Function 200, and you guys can attend a course. This part of this content we cover, actually every piece of this content we cover in more detail, more case studies on home sleep tests. We have an hour dedicated to screening itself. We've got 45 minutes dedicated to just going through how to build your fee and all that kind of stuff. If you want to learn more about this, then please feel free to scan that, contact us. We'd love to help you, and there's no pressure. We love working with dentists who want to help people. And Angela, you just paid me what is probably the best compliment I've ever received on any webinar. I've done probably hundreds of these webinars, and thank you so much. I'm so honored. I've only done like 30 escape rooms, so I'm a little okay at them. I'd love to jump in one with you. I did have one question from Dr. Peralta earlier, and I just want to hit it real quick because this is one of the most valuable tips. I saw this one tip add 10% to case acceptance for home sleep tests, literally in 15 days for practice. And he says, patients don't want to listen when I talk about sleep. They shut down. No one, I sleep just fine is how the objection sounds. We probably heard that, and it's because they have sleep apnea, because they should take 5 to 20 minutes to fall asleep, but that's a whole nother lecture. If your patients say that, then just stop using the word sleep. Like, disrupted sleep is actually a symptom, right? Sleep apnea is the disease, but what does that mean? It means you have disrupted sleep. Why do we have disrupted sleep? What's causing that? It's the airway. You have an airway disease. You have an airway problem. Your airway, which is essential to life, is compromised. And this device helps us position the jaw in a forward position that helps alleviate that pressure, that helps us keep the airway open. So that no matter what happens throughout your night, you have a healthy airway. You continue to breathe. Sleep, it sounds so silly. I know, but it still works. So, David, thank you for your compliment as well. Any other questions, comments, concerns, or cries of outrage? Okay. Cool. Well, I guess I just did that awesome of a job. So thank you all. I really appreciate the opportunity to come on. And please connect with me on LinkedIn. I post an ungodly amount of times on LinkedIn. AI tips, free forms, articles. We got some stuff coming out with True Function too. Like, go ahead and connect with me. It'd be great. So I'll just hang out until we end, I guess. Trish, is there anything, or Frank, is there anything you guys have to add on as we'll close out here?
Yeah, thank you, Tad. We always appreciate you coming on. So look forward to future endeavors with you. And we really appreciate helping, this really niche topic of those treatment plans. So thank you. We appreciate it.
Yeah, same here, Chad. We really appreciate the valuable information you provided to our customers and the people that we work with, and again, we look forward to work with you in the future. And you are the man, so that's really cool. So keep up the good work, man. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. All right. Have a great night, folks, and maybe I'll see you around.
Wonderful.
Have a wonderful
Thank
evening.
you. Thank you, Trish. Great work.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.